Good afternoon, everyone. It's Steve Lookner with Right Side Broadcasting coming to you with a news alert. So there's been this kind of bubbling up controversy today between President Trump and the Wall Street Journal over what President Trump said in an interview a couple days ago about his relationship with Kim Jong Un. And President Trump tweeted about it this morning. The Wall Street Journal has tweeted about it. And there's this dispute over what President Trump said. But in reviewing some of the, so the Wall Street Journal published a transcript today and also released an audio tape of the interview. And in reviewing the audio tape, what I had noticed, and I think is very important, is that there's a part of the audio tape, something that President Trump says, which isn't in the transcript. And it seems to support President Trump's version of events rather than the Wall Street Journal's version of events. So it clearly, I think you'll see, there's no question the transcript is incorrect. As to whether the Wall Street Journal intentionally published an incorrect transcript, I don't know, but I'm going to show you how that transcript is incorrect. But first, what I wanted to do is just to catch you up, go over what this controversy is all about, talk about what the dispute is, what President Trump tweeted about it this morning, and then I'll explain to you how the Wall Street Journal transcript is incorrect, and then you can draw your own conclusions. But I think you'll see pretty clearly that the transcript is incorrect. So thank you to our moderators for joining us today and moderating the chat room. We have JC and Barbara Braley and Webster there. And also, after I go through that, I'm going to take your comments on this. So if you have comments on this story, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, and I will take your comments and read them on the air. And thank you, everybody, for joining us there today. So let me get started here. So where this all got started is a couple days ago. Oh, let me just make sure you can hear me first of all. Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner on Twitter, and I will take your comments and read them on the air. Volume sounds good. And thank you. Okay. So hang on a second. All right. So let me get started by just giving you some backstory here. So a couple days ago, the Wall Street Journal came out with this story based on an interview they had done with Donald Trump. And part of what they said in the story is that President Trump said he has a pretty good relationship with Kim Jong Un. So you can see here it says in the subheadline, President cites a positive relationship with Kim Jong Un. And then in the actual quote they said, this is the top of the story. Look, it's right at the start of the story. They quote President Trump as saying, I have a pretty good relationship with Kim Jong Un. No, I'm sorry. They say, I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. So that's the exact quote they attributed to President Trump. I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. That's what they claim President Trump said. Now, a number of people criticized President Trump for this statement. First of all, they said, well, he's just lying because he hasn't been talking to Kim Jong Un. So how can he be saying he has probably has a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un? So President Trump got criticized for that. Some people criticized President Trump because they said, oh, well, if he says he has a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un, he's saying contradictory things because he's been telling us he has a bad relationship with Kim Jong Un, and now he's telling us he probably has a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. These can't both be true, so there must be a lie in there. So President Trump did receive a bunch of criticism from a number of people for saying, according to the Wall Street Journal, I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. That quote, if it's true, says that President Trump thinks that right now, he probably has a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. So he received some criticism of that. But what happened is the White House and President Trump ended up saying, no. You got the quote wrong. So as an example, let me show you President Trump's tweet this morning to the Wall Street Journal. He said, the Wall Street Journal stated falsely that I said to them, I have a good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. Obviously, I didn't say that. I said I'd have a good relationship with Kim Jong Un. I would have, not that I have now, I would have a good relationship with Kim Jong Un. A big difference. Fortunately, we now record conversations with reporters, ... And then he said, and they knew exactly what I said and meant, they just wanted a story, fake news. Okay, so President Trump is saying, I didn't say I probably have. Hold on, let me just show you his tweet again. He didn't say I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. He's saying I would have. I don't now, but I probably would have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. That's what the president is saying he said. Now, the Wall Street Journal and President Trump said they recorded this conversation. There was a recording of it, and indeed there is, because the Wall Street Journal published it. Now, this is pretty amazing to me. The Wall Street Journal says, we have reviewed the audio from our interview with President Trump as well as the transcript. Hang on a second, and I'll play it for you. Provided by an external service, and we stand by what we reported. We stand by what we reported based on our transcript and the audio. Here is the audio of the portion. Okay, so let me play you the audio first of this portion of the interview. So here's the audio.
With that being said, President Xi has been extremely generous with what he said. I like him a lot. I have a great relationship with him. As you know, I have a great relationship with Prime Minister Abe, Japan. And I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think you people are...
So you can see what's in debate is whether President Trump said, hang on. Am I going to have to refresh this because it's not behaving properly? I think I have to refresh this tweet. The tweet is behaving badly. Okay. There it is. So this part here. Hold on.
And I probably...
So the question is, did he say, I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un, meaning he has it now, or I'd probably have, I would probably have. So I'll let you listen to this again. To me, it's not very clear from the audio what exactly he said when you hear him say this one sentence, but I'll play it to you for you again.
Abe, Japan. And I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people.
So when you listen to him say it, it's kind of unclear whether he says, to me, whether he says I or I. Does he say I probably have or I'd probably have? However, here's the thing. Listen to what he says on this Wall Street Journal. They posted this audio right after he says the sentence in question. What does he say? Let's listen to that sentence again, and let's listen to what he says right after it.
Probably have a very good relationship.
I'll go back a second.
And I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with
right there,
people.
right there.
People
he says, after he says probably have a good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea, he says I would. He clearly says I would. Listen to it again.
Very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think
again,
people
he clearly says, after he says a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un, he says I would. Now, if you say I would, to me, given that he says I would after saying this sentence here, whether it's I or I'd, if he says I would, it makes more sense that he would say I would if he had just said I'd. Because think of this. If he says, and I'd probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea, he's saying I would probably have. So it makes sense that literally right after this, he would say I would. But it makes less sense that if he said, and I, not and I'd, and I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea, and then he says, I would. So the I would that he clearly says I would right after this sentence, that seems to support the interpretation on which he said I'd probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. Now let me just play this one more time, just so we hear it, so we can hear the I would after.
And I'd probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think you people are surprised.
So he clearly says I would after the sentence, which suggests to me, I mean, to me that's evidence that he said I, did not I. So he said I would after. Now, here's the key point. Look at the Wall Street Journal transcript that they posted of the interview. Check this out. I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. But then where's the I would? The I would isn't there. It's not there. Look, I just played it for you. After he says probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea, he clearly in the audio says I would. But they don't put this in their transcript. I'm showing you their transcript. It's not there. Their own audio, again, has him saying I would right after the quote. I'll play it for you again.
With that, and I'd probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think you people are surprised.
He says I would. It's clear. You just heard it. But look at the Wall Street Journal transcript. It's not there. There's no I would. And as I just explained to you, him saying I would after the sentence in question suggests he said I'd right before that, because I'd is short for I would. So it makes much more sense if given that he said I would right after the sentence, it makes much more sense that the sentence was him saying, and I'd probably have, not I probably have. But Wall Street Journal, for some unknown reason, I don't know what, well, I could guess what, they didn't put I would in the transcript. That transcript is wrong. And I'm not getting this audio from some crazy source. I'm getting it. This is the Wall Street Journal. It's their audio that they posted of the interview. So their transcript misrepresents their audio. And they say we've reviewed the audio and reviewed our transcript and we stand by what we reported. But their transcript is wrong. It's just not right. I just showed you. So to me, it's embarrassing that they call this a transcript when I just played you the audio. And again, the I would, look at, if you watch the video, they have chirons of, do people use that word? They have, in addition to the audio, which you're hearing, they put on the screen the words you're supposedly hearing. But the words they put on the screen misses the I would too. Look, there's no I would on the screen. Watch.
With that being said, and I'd probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think you people are surprised.
So he just said I would.
With that being said,
he just said it.
Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I have relationships with people. I think you people are surprised.
So he said I would. He said I would, and it's not even in. It's not even on the screen. So they've just pretended like the I would isn't there. They just didn't show it on the screen. It's not in their transcript, and they're just not showing it to you. So to me, that suggests to me, because you can clearly hear it, if I had to guess, I think it's more probable than not that they intentionally took out the I would. Because I don't see why they'd leave the I would out. If you have a whole transcript, they have this whole article, this big long article with all the transcript of the interview. And they put in a lot of different different interjections and half phrases and stuff like that, and parts of sentences. But yet strangely, the I would never made it into this transcript. So I don't know. Either somebody messed up with the transcript, but even if they messed up, that's very easily checkable, and somebody should be checking that. So I don't know. Maybe they just left it out because they thought it went against their interpretation. But to me, the I would supports President Trump's interpretation of the conference of what he said, and not the Wall Street Journal's. But they just left it out of their transcript. They left it out. Didn't want to have it. So Anyways, I'd love to hear what you think about this. What do you think about this? The fact that and this is, by the way, this is like a big controversy today. People are talking about this a lot on mainstream media. I'll show you, like, if you go to like Trump I'd. You see people talking about it. For example, White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs says, White House continues to argue Wall Street Journal wrong about what I'd have versus I have. So this is news. This is out there today. President Trump tweeted about it. But as I explained to you, the Wall Street Journal has a big hole in their argument, which is that their transcript doesn't include the words I would that the audio includes. All right, so what do you guys think about this? Do you think the Wall Street Journal pushed out this incorrect transcript intentionally, or do you think it's just an honest mistake? Although even if it's an honest mistake, it's still a pretty bad one that they post like a 30-second audio clip, and they can't even get everything from the audio clip that's clearly audible in their actual transcript. So what do you think about this? Write to me on Twitter, @Lookner, @LOOKNER. Let me know what you think. I'm going to read your comments right now. Also, if you like this coverage, if you like that we're covering this and pointing out to you how the transcript is incorrect. By the way, I have not seen this reported anywhere else about the incorrect transcript. As far as I'm aware, we're the only one reporting this right now. But if you like that we cover this and you like that we're an alternative to the mainstream media, please consider making a donation, because we are viewer supported. It's your donations which allow us to stay on the air. If we don't have donations from you guys, we literally can't be on the air. So if you want to donate, you can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the dollar sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat. There's a little gray dollar symbol there. You can just click on that. Or you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. And also, don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the notifications bell so you hear about when we're coming on the air with live videos. And you can follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting. All right, so thanks again to the moderators, Webster, JC, who else is there? Barbara Braley and Common Sense and Gleno on the website. I want to take some of your comments on this, see if you have anything to say about this story. Let's see. Chest Harrington says, it doesn't matter which he said, but it does matter that the journal is lying about it. David Opp says, reminds me of the first word said on the moon by Neil Armstrong. Said he said something different than people heard. Irredeemable Cube says, I know this is speculation, but they would do this so that they could try to say at the Wall Street Journal that he has a relationship with a hostile nation. Despicable journalism. Deplorable Gina says, if you listen to the audio without looking at the words, you would hear I'd. The Wall Street Journal purposely put the words up to make people hear what they want. It's interesting. You're saying, like, you think it says I'd, but another thing you're saying is when the Wall Street Journal tweets this out, they don't just tweet out the audio. What they do is they show you the words in addition to the audio.
With Kim Jong Un.
This tweet is behaving. This tweet doesn't even pause.
Kim Jong relationship.
I can't pause the tweet. I don't know why.
Kim Jong Un of North Korea.
The point, your point is
relationships with people.
All right, enough. I can't pause that tweet. It's not behaving properly. But your point, Gina, is saying if you play audio which is unclear and you put up text on the screen, that might affect how people hear it. So it's possible you're claiming that because they say I in their text on the screen at the time of the audio, that might affect how people hear it. That's an interesting point. Dig4 writes in, just another example of unethical and incompetent journalistic standards demonstrating why President Trump is correct about the need for libel laws. While the freedom of speech and expression is paramount, blatantly fraudulent character hit jobs do not help our democracy. Hey, Harold E. Chestnut made a donation from England. Wait, no, from Europe, because it's in euros. Thank you, Harold E. Chestnut. Very much appreciate it. Thank you. That's nice of you. Parr writes in, I heard I'd. That's what Parr says. Chest Harrington says, President Trump's inflection implies he intended to say I'd. There's a lilt in his voice for the unspoken probably. Oh, also, thank you. Losing My Religion sent me this tweet from Sarah Sanders, where the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, also tweeted about this, and I want to show you that. Hang on, I'll show you that on the screen in a second. So thank you again, Losing My Religion, for reminding me of that. Hang on, I'll get it up on the screen for you. Here it is. So Sarah Sanders today around noontime said, "We first contacted the Wall Street Journal Friday morning and asked for a correction. They repeatedly refused to issue one despite clear audio evidence they'd misquoted the president." So that's from Sarah Sanders. Now, again, personally, I think when you listen to the audio, it's not clear. I mean, it's a personal thing. To me, it's kind of hard to tell whether he said I or I'd just from the audio itself. But I think the I would right after is an important clue, and yet it never made it into the Wall Street Journal transcript. It's as if they never even heard it. Okay, let's see if there are more messages here. Ham Freed writes in, more fake news. No one who hears the interview can hear it as anything else than he would have. Not that he has. He would have, not that he has, I see. But there is a reason car salesmen and politicians have a higher trust rating than journalists. Thank you, Ham Freed, for writing in. Molly Mazer says, I'd be interested to find out what company the Wall Street Journal uses for transcription services and what other companies may be using the same. Perhaps there are other misquotes that we are not aware of in other situations. And you point out, Molly, you make an interesting point when you point out that they said they used a transcription service. Didn't they say that they say that in their tweet, right? Hold on. Yeah, so they said transcript provided by an external service. But that's no excuse because you can hear the I would on this 30-second audio clip. So clearly they posted this clip. It's not hard to listen to the clip. Even if the external transcript was wrong, they should be able to it shouldn't be an issue for them to correct that transcript and have the I would both in the transcript itself and in this tweet, in the words of this tweet. So they can't really blame the external service for getting a wrong transcript because in their own audio clip, which is only 30 seconds, it's only 28 seconds long, you can clearly hear I would. So somebody there should be aware that this says I would. As above, so below made a donation. Thanks, As Above, So Below, and said, Q, they are losing, we win. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the donation, As Above, So Below. And thank you, Are You Handy, for the donation. That's very nice of you. We will use that to help stay on the air and bring you guys more news. Kate Deplorable says, and the notion Trump would have an affair with a porn star just a year into his marriage with Melania is bogus fake news too. Who's on the Wall Street Journal editorial board? So you doubt that story that they came out with the Wall Street Journal a couple days ago. Deplorable Gina says, I retweeted this broadcast. It needs to get out there. Thank you, Deplorable Gina. That's very nice of you. Also, feel free if you like our broadcasts. We love when you share them on Facebook and like them on YouTube. We're small. We can't even afford to advertise. So when you share them and like them, that lets other people know about the videos. So we really appreciate if you do that, if you like the videos. Vika Varkosh says, English is not my birth language, but I know enough to know Trump did not say I have a good relationship. He said I would have. Or you're saying he said I'd have. Vaughn says, close your eyes and you can clearly hear him say I'd. This takes away visual distraction. KC says, I am a professional transcriptionist. He very clearly said I'd. One of We the People says, who's pulling the mainstream media's strings? P-Cell, hello P-Cell. P-Cell writes in, great coverage, Steve. Concerning the topic, I hope others in the media point this out as well. To me, the important word here is the word probably. By the president using the word probably, it means something that could be, but it is not, but it could be. Anyhow, those who publish this feel the American people are stupid and they won't spot the error, but you did, Steve. You know, P-Cell, you make a very interesting point, and I want to say that again. Emphasize the point you made, P-Cell. Hold on I just want to call up the quote here. So what you're saying, P-Cell, hang on. Here's the quote in question. Is it I probably have or I'd probably have? Now, what you're saying, P-Cell, and I think this is a good point, you're saying, look, if he actually had a good relationship with Kim Jong Un, why would he say probably? Why would he say I probably have? You're saying, well, if he has this relationship already, he'd know what kind of relationship he has, so he wouldn't say probably. But probably makes much more sense if he said, I'd probably have, because that would mean I would probably have, which it makes much more sense to use probably there. So given that he said probably, you say, and I think you make a good point a good case for this, that probably supports him saying I'd. So, I'll say this. If the Wall Street Journal is going to be intellectually honest about this, the least they could do is say it's unclear whether he said I or I'd. Because you can't really tell from the audio. And in the audio, he does say I would, and he does say probably as well, which seems to support him saying I'd. So good point, P-Cell. Thank you. We are reading more of your comments here. Write to me with @Lookner if you have thoughts on this. SoCal Boho Gal says, it's really sad that our news has been taken over by foreign anti-American propaganda terrorists and subversives. CNN should be off the air because FCC violations, they don't follow U.S. laws. That's from SoCal Boho Girl. And I forgot to check my email. Douglas J. Dorn says, I'd not be surprised if Trump two sips of water after making the statement. But you also, the subject line is I'd. So it seems like you think, Douglas J. Dorn, that he said I'd. And Deplorable Gina said she closed her eyes when she listened. And she thinks without the text there, if you listen, you're much more likely to say I'd. She said it sounded like I'd to her when she closed her eyes. Let me just see if there are any more tweets up there about this. See, now look, there are people criticizing President Trump for this. So this person, Mark Kermode, who's a film critic, and he works with the BBC, he says, Trump says I, newspaper reports I, Trump screams fake news, we have tape, tape says I, doh. Now, actually, I think it's, as I just mentioned, the tape is actually unclear what President Trump said, and he said I would, and he said, as P-Cell said, probably. And the I would isn't even in the transcript. So I think that supports him saying I'd. But I certainly think, given that the tape is unclear, and given that he says I would, and as P-Cell said probably, the best you could say is it's unclear what he said. But there's people out there insisting it's 100% clear he said I, and President Trump is just shouting fake news. Get It On writes in, a $500,000 fine for every missed quote from the president for national security would make the news Lookner over there reporting better. Thank you, Get It On, for writing in. All right, we're going to be on for a few more minutes. So if you have any comments on this story, give me a shout on Twitter, @Lookner, @LOOKNER. Want to hear from you. Also, you can follow me at @Lookner if you like breaking news. I post about breaking news all the time, even when we're not on the air. And you can also follow me at RSB. Sorry, follow me. You can also follow Right Side Broadcasting on Twitter at RSB Network. John Magoo writes in, all of this nitpicky journalism proves that we are at the end of Trump collusion with Russia. So you think, John, that they're like latching on to something else besides Russia because they don't think the Russia collusion thing is really going anywhere? Or maybe there hasn't been anything lately on it? Okay, I think I'm almost caught up. All right. I am officially making last call for comments on this stream. We will, if there's news later today, even though it's Sunday, if there's big news, we will come on the air and broadcast live breaking news coverage. So again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Click that notifications bell when you subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting. Ludi Shadow Speaker writes in, the Wall Street Journal is discrediting itself. Why stand by disputable and disputed reporting unless you are embarrassed? Wall Street Journal is standing by their inability to interpret language. What's the point of that? So, and Ludi's Shadow Speaker, what you're saying is why stand by disputable and disputed reporting? Now, there's an option, as you point out, there's an option for the Wall Street Journal here. They don't have to say President Trump is right. What they can say is, well, the audio is not clear. It's not clear that it's whether he says I or I'd, and given that he says I would after, and also that he says probably, that suggests that he's saying I'd. So it's just not clear. But they don't do that. As you say, they stand by, and they kind of they cite this transcript. They say, we have reviewed the audio as well as the transcript and stand by what we reported. Well, they're citing a transcript that's wrong. I mean, I just showed you how the transcript doesn't have the words I would in it. So the transcript is clearly wrong. So citing the transcript doesn't help your case because the transcript's just wrong. Also, when you say this, we have reviewed the audio and cited and the transcript, look what they're not saying. They're not saying we have used our brain to actually consider the words that came out of President Trump's mouth and consider, given the other words he said, whether I or I'd would be more appropriate and whether I or I'd makes more sense. They don't say that. All they say, it's this very narrow-minded way of looking at things. We've reviewed the audio and the transcript. But how about using your brain and thinking? What we're doing on this stream is we're using our brains and we're thinking. And we're saying, given what President Trump said, given the context of what he said, it certainly seems like I'd is more probable than I. But they don't even, they're fine not even considering the context. They just say, well, we've reviewed the audio and we looked at this transcript, which is false, the transcript. They don't even say, how about looking at the words he said and thinking about whether I or I'd make more sense? Maybe that's a good idea. But they don't do that. They didn't say they did it. City Girl 2 says Trump will now have to enunciate better from now on. Oh, Hyperstream sent me a post from Sarah Sanders where she posted audio. I wonder if that's the same audio. Here you go. Thank you, Hyperstream. So Sarah Sanders posted this, and it says, this is the official audio showing Wall Street Journal covering the president, misquoting the president. Now, I wonder if it's the same audio we heard before, but I'll play it for you anyway.
As you know, I have a great relationship with Prime Minister Abe, Japan. And I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of North Korea. And I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un of we have a very good relationship with probably have a very good relationship with and I probably have a very good relationship with and I probably have a very good relationship.
So, look, I think it's hard to tell either way. I think it's certainly not clear, as the Wall Street Journal claims, that he said I. It could be I'd from that. But as I mentioned, if you look at what he's actually saying and that he says I would, this doesn't even include the I would after, which I think supports I'd and not I. So thank you, Hyperstream, for sending that in. John Crilly writes, important to divert from Hawaii-North Korea story as actual North Korea test launch was earlier reported to be expected soon. I've heard some reports saying they might do a test at some point, or a nuclear test, but who knows if they will. Little Lena says, if you can use headphones, you will hear him say I'd. The Boatmanator said, I heard I would or I'd have a relationship with him. So you think it's I'd, the boat monator. Kathy Michaud says, I really think this was intentional. They may correct it with no fanfare another time. Almost no one sees these corrections. Damage done. Not Sulgi says, I didn't know there was an I'd issue. I heard the audio and clearly heard I'd and only found out the misquote later. H. Rutherford Hill says, for God's sake, somebody please give Steve Lookner a press pass. This man is the only reporter I know who uses critical thinking as he dissects the news and poses questions. He deserves an award ASAP. Well, thank you, H. Rutherford Hill. And I will say we do try to we use our brains on our streams. We try to use our brains. We think that's important. And, to me, I haven't seen people making these basic points that you would think are basic, which is like, well, he says I would right after the quote in question, which suggests I'd. Or as one of our viewers, P-Cell says, he says probably in the quote, and the word probably suggests he says I'd. So I don't know what's the big deal about why isn't this just like it's like instinct? Why isn't it just automatic for journalists just to think about these things and rather than just look at the audio and look at this incorrect transcript, actually think about use their heads and think a little bit about what he said and what that suggests about what he said. That happens a lot with President Trump, though, which is like people, if he says anything that can be literally interpreted in this really bad way for him, there's a lot of people out there who just like say, look at what he said. It's so awful. And they don't think well, look at the context of what he said, and he clearly didn't actually mean that. I mean, we had kind of a similar thing, I think, with the whole, if you watch our stream on the whole S-hole comment, I talked to you about how, if you try to reasonably interpret him, there's a very reasonable interpretation on which he was making an economic point about immigration and not about a racist point. But a lot of the press wouldn't even consider that. They wouldn't even consider it. Wouldn't consider it. Not possible. Article 5 says, in a few days, the Wall Street Journal will make a tiny correction buried in the comics section. American Patriot says, say some new distraction from the left every day, covering their debacle from yesterday, Hawaii. Deplorable Gina says, this is as stupid as blaming Trump for what happened in Hawaii, LOL. Article 5 says, first it's alleged S-hole comments. Now it's a lie about I'd versus I. Always a distraction from the real issue. Reality check hashtag MAGA says, even if he said I would say that is accurate because North and South Korea are having talks now from the results of Trump's tough talk. Fear of his threats can force North Korea to have a good relationship. David Opp says there should be an electronic way of settling this. That's interesting, David. I was thinking about that. I was wondering, could you analyze the sound and try and tell somehow from the sound? Although the audio quality might not be good enough to really get a clear analysis of the sound. I don't know. JC, one of our moderators, says, Steve, holy crap, our government and mainstream media looks and acts like preschoolers. It's so aggravating and embarrassing. Thanks, JC. And thanks to JC and all the other moderators, Barbara Braley and Webster and Common Sense and Glenn on the website. Appreciate all of your work for us. Okay, let me get still some more comments here. Thank you for all your comments. Black and Proud says, the word would is so clear. I think you're saying you think he said I'd. And it's sad. Or maybe you're saying it's clear that he said I would after. But either way, you say the word would is so clear, and it's sad. But even if there was a question as to what the president said, why wouldn't the Wall Street Journal follow up with the president to get clarification? Seems pretty simple unless you want to intentionally damage the president. Looks like fake news to me. Remember, Wall Street Journal is full of establishment like Never Trumpers, and the Fusion GPS co-owners are both ex-Wall Street Journal reporters. The fight to drain the swamp and MAGA is never ending. Linda Belk says, he said I'd. I could hear the D. He didn't emphasize it, but it was there. All right. Well, I think I've gotten to all your comments. Oh, wait, we might have a couple more here. Unseen One says, the entire story proves how one word can change an entire story and how easy it is to do. It should make everyone aware of the power the media has to push fake news. And I want to emphasize again, when the Wall Street Journal came out with their story about this, when they did this whole big interview with Trump, that comment is like the first part of the story. And it's the subheadline, President Trump cites a positive relationship. And then in the second paragraph, they literally say, I probably have a very good relationship with Kim Jong Un. They say that in the second paragraph. So that's like they emphasize this in their story when it's a very disputable quote. But they emphasize it. It's not like it was a throwaway part of their article. All right, I think at this point, we are going to wrap up this stream. And I want to say thanks to the moderators. Thanks to those who donated. As I said before, we are viewer supported. The only reason we can do this is because you guys support us and you make donations. That's how we stay on the air. And I'm guessing you will not find this story covered this way on any of the mainstream media channels. Again, to repeat, I haven't even heard anyone actually do this kind of coverage of the story anywhere today where they actually look at what he said. They look at the fact that he said, I would after, and they look at the context of his remarks, and they actually try to think critically about what is the evidence, what does the context suggest about what he said. I've seen no one talking about that. I guess it's not part of journalism to use your brain to think about things. But we do it here. If you like that coverage, if you like we do things a little differently, please consider making a donation. We do rely on you to stay on the air. If you want to donate, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat. Click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. It's a square $, gray, next to the emoji icon. So you can do that, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. We come on the air all the time with these live breaking news videos. So subscribe to us. Click that notifications bell when you subscribe. Follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting. You can follow me on Twitter at @LookNerd. If I hear more about the story today, I will post it on my Twitter at @LookNerd. I also will post about any other breaking news I hear about. And follow Right Side Broadcasting at RSB Network on Twitter, at RSB Network. So for now, I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to say thanks again to the moderators. Thanks to everybody. Thank you to everybody who wrote in with your comments, with your news tips, with your analysis of this story. Really appreciate all of your thoughts on this. And thanks to the people saying thanks in the chat room right now. XPFC Wintergreen, P-Cell. Now, XPFC Wintergreen says, I would donate if you read my comments. I'm not seeing the comments in the chat room during the broadcast. The chat room goes by kind of fast. So if you want me to read your comments, send them to me on Twitter at Lookner. That's the best place. If you can't send it to me there, you can always email me, steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. But the best place is to tweet at me at Lookner. But if you say something in the chat room, I probably won't see it until the very end because it scrolls by so fast. Rooster Coburn, thank you. Budget Girl, thank you. Are You Handy, thank you. Thank you, Tia Marie. Light Switch, DM, thanks, Cheryl. Let me get to some other thank yous here. Budget Girl. Whiskey Bay, Roxy, XPFC, thank you. Ian Lane, thanks. Philby, thank you. And everybody else there in the chat room, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. And everybody on Facebook for watching, thank you as well. And, of course, again, JC, Barbara Braley, and Webster, all moderating there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this broadcast. We hope you have a great Sunday and a great rest of your weekend. If there's big breaking news, we will come back on the air and report it for you. But for now, I am Steve Lookner from all of us at Right Side Broadcasting. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.